Hi everybody, I'm trying to use this thing on my laptop to do this. So this is a response video to the, what is her name? Angie Donut Ears tutorial. I think it works out pretty well. I just don't know what she did for the seams. For her seam, she said she just added fabric to the sides. And when I was trying to do that, like, a bunch of the sequins were coming off because of the thread being cut, so it didn't look right to me. So I just kind of folded it over. Like, yeah, I did some folding and put them along the seam to make it look nicer because she's trying to say that the sequins melt. I don't know how hot her glue gun is, but I don't think the sequins melt. If anything, it's just they blend well in together. I used extra sequins that fell off my fabric the one time for the rose gold ears I made myself. Yeah, this was supposed to be rose gold, but to me it looks more like a copper. I got it for $8 off of Amazon. It's a table runner, and I still have leftover. So instead of using felt like she did, I used more sequin fabric, and I didn't feel like making sprinkles out of clay because just wasn't up for it, because clay, like, really, it cakes onto your skin and it's kind of hard to get off even if you want to use like Dawn dish soap. So I used bugle beads, and I got them from AC Moore, and the stuff that I got, like the tube of it that I got, it comes with like a bunch of dark colors and then some of these bright colors. So I really had to dig around, and I used a pair of tweezers with my hot glue gun to apply them. And I didn't use a template from her or anything. I took a pair of my park ears. My park ears are what I usually use to figure out how big I should make my ears when I am making them. In the past, like, I've just used them to kind of make sure when I'm applying the ears, they're spaced out the right way. But now I'm starting to do like the actual circle. I used to make them like a weird kind of ovalish shape. So my family likes like a bunch of these ones that I made with very thin headbands that have like an oval shape. But anyway, so what I did was I have this tumbler cup. It's actually like rose gold. My friend got it for me for Christmas, but that's not the point. So what I do is I find something that's the same size. So if you have a tumbler cup, the tumbler cup is the same size, like the lid. And so I use that. I traced this out, and I made sure to put the dot in the center so that when I'm making the actual donut, I then took a spool of thread, or like, you can figure out how big you want the center of the hole to be, but I used a spool of thread and made sure that like that hole matched up with the dot. And after that, I took the headband that I'm using and I cut like a crescent shape out of a little bit. I think it should be a little bit more considering how much fabric goes onto this, because now I have a gap at the top a little bit, but I don't think it's that big of a deal because it kind of goes away when it spreads out, but still it's kind of annoying to see. So that's how I made my template. I think that template. So I think you can either use her template or you can just do it yourself. And for the headband and the donuts, I didn't use white felt. She used white, which is fine, but the problem also is there is a good chance that you're going to see the fabric underneath kind of coming through, because the sequin fabric is mesh, and so it's very see-through. So I used a tan fabric as my base because I knew that it would go well with this color. Well, I thought it would go well with rose gold too, but I think it kind of looks more like donuts being the copper, but I'm still a little disappointed because I really like rose gold. So I covered my headband and my ears in the felt because I wanted them to match, and putting felt on the headband first, it actually gives it a little bit more of like the Parks look, because the Parks ones seem like they have a little bit more going on to them too, like they seem like they have a itty bit of cushion. So I did that, and she didn't use ribbon, which I think is just like because no matter what, usually like the inside is finished off somehow. So this stuff that I used, you can look it up as double braided ribbon, or it's called GIMP. It's called GIMP braid trim. Or you can just use regular ribbon, or I have a little hack if you're getting a headband with everything on it. Like headbands are like about $1 to $2 usually, and it has to be like a 1-inch headband. So if you want to actually be like meticulous about it, take a hair dryer to the inside of the headband and pull off the ribbon stuff that's finishing the inside, and then you can replace it later after. Like you can take off that and the original fabric that's on it, cover it in the felt, then reapply the ribbon. And if you take off the original fabric, it also helps you figure out how big your fabric should be going back over it. I generally like to add a little bit of access now when I start to apply the fabric to it, because nothing is worse than the ribbon stuff not covering all of it. So if there's like a little too much, like I cover the one side and then I start covering the opposite side, and if the opposite side looks like it's going to be like overlapping too much, then I cut down a little bit. And for the icing thing, like for this, I waited until after I was done covering my donuts to make sure that I made the icing like the right size. So what I did was, after I was done, I retraced the donuts like the inside hole and the outside, and then I just kind of made like a pattern of like squiggles and out of paper, and then pinned it to the fabric and cut it out. And to make it faster, what you do is you fold the fabric over, you fold it in half, pin the paper on top of the folded paper, pin the paper over the folded fabric, and then cut it out, and you'll have two pieces when you get out of it. I wasn't very meticulous about it at all, because I mean icing is sloppy usually. And for the bow, this bow I made a while ago for ears that haven't been selling, so I didn't have to worry about doing that. But what I do is I take a piece of paper, I don't know where it is right now, it's my pattern piece and it's missing. So you take a piece of paper and you measure it out to the length of how long this bow is, the Park bow, and you double it. Now, you don't really have to double up the length You just have to remember that you have to fold over your fabric and cut it out so that when you open it up, like, don't cut the fabric crease or whatever the hell you want to call this. Just fold it in half and put the piece of paper on the seam of it, cut it out, and then when you open it up, it'll be 2 times of this length. So you want it to be that long, and then you want to make it double the size of this. Like the biggest part of the bow, because it's all scrunched. You want to make it twice this. So then you can either glue or sew the length of this long part. So it's got to be inside out. You fold it over, then you sew or glue it all the way across, then you turn it right side out, and then fold it in like I don't have anything to show this. So you fold it in like that, and then you're going to want to finish it, like glue it or sew it together right here. So then it'll be this big. And you take a little piece of fabric that's like 2 times the size of the centerpiece, or you can figure out how big you want that centerpiece, and wrap that around, and you'll have the bow. I hope that's easy enough to understand. Otherwise, I'm sure there are a bunch of different ear tutorials where you can learn how to make a cute bow. I wasn't trying to like make a whole tutorial to kind of steal somebody else's thunder for her idea. I just wanted to like post a look, her thing works type of thing. And I think that's about it for the whole thing. But I really like how they turned out. Her idea was great with using the cardboard in the center and whatnot. If you can, I would suggest trying to cover the fabric nicer on the inside, and maybe you don't need to use fabric in the seam, because I don't think that the seam is that bad when they're glued together. It kind of makes me think of like a croissant donut, because don't they have like a kind of seam thing going on? But I think that's about it. I like how easy it was. I like how fast it really was. If it weren't for the fact that, you know, I got my husband wanting to do stuff and needing me to like cook dinner and whatnot, I probably would have been done with them a lot quicker than I was. Blah, 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 blah. I said and way too many times. I think I'm going to set up a other video for how my pregnancy's been going, if anybody wants to tune into that. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful and not too drawn out or boring.